should you self-drive in Japan? That's what we're going to find out today. But it may come as no surprise that the answer is a resounding yes. Are you planning to visit Japan and considering self-driving, but not sure if you can or should do it? Are you confused about the legalities of driving on your license, international driving permits, road signs, tolls, costs, parking, or anything else? Then this video is for you. Your country's driver's license most likely will not cut it, as only a handful of countries have an agreement with Japan to accept your license, and even then, you will need it translated. Look up your own country on your own time. I don't know where you're from. As for me, I'm an American with a US license, a Thai license, a Chinese driver's license, and I used to hold an Australian license. However, none of these licenses would allow me to drive in Japan, so I applied for an international driving permit that is valid in Japan from the USA. Make sure you get an IDP that is valid in Japan. There are many scam websites out there willing to take your money for an IDP that is not valid in Japan. Again, do your due diligence on your own time. If you're an American, simply apply with AAA. A few of the very good things about driving in Japan are, number one, the roads are immaculate. They're pristine, they're in such good condition, and pretty much all of the roads are very, very clearly marked. Again, the only issue with that is they're marked, in kanji and also in English, romanization of kanji. You may have trouble with that, but for the most part, they're very clearly marked and the roads are in very good condition. The other thing, and probably the more important thing, is everybody on the road, almost 100% of the people, are so polite with how they drive. You don't have any of those maniacs and lifted trucks and giant SUVs that you have in the States. You don't have that at all. You don't have people driving way faster than everybody else. On the highway, you do have some people, going faster, but they're, for the most part, in the passing lane, the right lane. They're driving, not aggressively. They're just driving faster than other people, which I think is perfectly okay. And it's not, intimidating or scary at all. Compared to some other countries, China, you may have some people who, in China, who you see videos, but also you see it in real life, people who might stop on the highway or drive the wrong direction on the highway or just behave in some sort of uncivilized way. Here the driving is very, very civilized. And I think it's just more to do with a lot of people are new drivers in China, whereas here probably is more of a longer driving culture. And it's not, I'm not trying to badmouth China at all. I love driving in China, as you've seen on this channel many a time. For the most part, drivers in China are also very, very good, or at least there's a logic to how people drive, which makes sense. It's not like people are awful asshole drivers like in the States, in China or here. It's also very different from like driving in Indonesia or Thailand or Vietnam, where it's kind of wild west, anything goes in a lot of cases, especially with so many motorcycles everywhere. Here there are motorcycles on the highways, but people for the most part aren't driving in and out of traffic like you get in, again, other countries. So my conclusion is that driving in Japan is actually really good, really nice. It's a good way to explore this country. Allow me to tell you another benefit of driving in Japan. That is, you can get away from the crowds. Today I was driving all around Mount Fuji. I was in Kawaguchi-go, I can't speak Japanese, where the lakes are, where the train station is, where the bus stops are. There were so many people, let me tell you. And so I drove away from that, and I got to see a nice sunset over Mount Fuji, pretty much alone. And then after I finished, I was able to drive away from town, out here to the countryside, to a nice onsen hotel. And I can have my own private onsen. Having a car to drive allows you the freedom and flexibility to do all of those things. Driving makes you really tired. I'm gonna have a soak. How do you like my yukata? If you've watched my channel at all, you'll know that I actually like public transit. I like trains. I'm a huge advocate for them. However, if there's one thing I really don't like, it is getting on public transit while I'm soaking wet. So that's another advantage of driving in Japan is, hey, you can stay relatively dry when it rains. Relatively. I gotta go in the car. Let's talk about toll roads. They are everywhere in Japan and they are quite pricey. After about 3.5 days of driving in Japan, my total tolls were over 20,000 yen, or above 160 US dollars. Gas is also pretty expensive. I drove this little compact Nissan and I put in 1.5 tanks of gas during my time, and that cost me about 7,000 yen, or 45 US dollars. Most gas stations are full service. Just tell the guy what kind of gas you need and how much you want. Not complicated at all. You can do it. I believe in you. As for parking, well, I didn't drive at all in Tokyo or in any other major city. Parking in the countryside at hotels, etc., that was all free. The only kinds of places that I had to pay to park were like here at this place near Mount Fuji when I went to check out some waterfalls. Parking here was 500 yen, or about $3. I wouldn't recommend driving at all in the major cities for a multitude of reasons, but parking cost and availability is certainly up there as a major turnoff. For real, just take a train, take a subway, easy. While we sit here in this slight traffic jam, let me tell you about some of the reasons why maybe you shouldn't drive in Japan. The first is, in my opinion, if it's your first time visiting Japan or Asia, you probably shouldn't drive here, because honestly, you should probably experience more of like what Japan has to offer, like high-speed rails and things like that. And everybody recommends high-speed rail. It's fast, relatively affordable, and probably interesting, especially if you're American, which we don't have rail. So I definitely recommend that maybe your first time in Japan. But for other times in Japan, you do want to rent a car. What are some of the challenges you might face? I would say the first challenge is obviously the language and reading the signs. Now, I'm a little bit lucky. I have a small advantage. I can read Hanzi or kanji because of my experience in China. So sometimes when I'm looking at the GPS and the directions, it does have English or romanization, just like in China, which we've talked about before on this channel, of the words, right? But I don't really understand Japanese, and if it says like Nocha Mamaguchi, I can't speak Japanese at all, right? I might not be able to place that so quickly when I see a big sign with lots of words on it. But if I do see just like two kanji I recognize from my GPS, and then I can look at the sign, I can see that and I can navigate fairly easily. So that's one reason why you shouldn't probably drive in Japan, perhaps, when challenged, unless you are good at like pattern recognition of the symbols, the characters, or you can read a little bit of Japanese, Chinese characters. Another challenge you might face in Japan driving is obviously being on the wrong side of the road. Again, if you're American, not the wrong side of the road, the other side of the road. If you're used to driving on the left, it might be relatively easy. I find it, again, relatively easy, even though I am American. I think you just follow the cars ahead of you, follow the traffic. It's not that hard. You should get used to it pretty quick. The biggest challenge I have with being on the opposite side of the car and opposite side of the road is the indicator. I always accidentally put on my windshield wipers instead of the indicator. But now we're here like day 3, and I've gotten fairly used to always using the indicator on the right side of the car, my right hand. So that's pretty simple. Any other challenges you might face? I don't know. For me, none really that I faced so far. It is kind of expensive to drive in Japan. Just like China, the toll roads are ubiquitous. They're everywhere and they're quite expensive. But it's you're on vacation. Who cares, right? Money doesn't count on vacation. Okay, and then that's the last thing about driving in Japan, at least in this car, is it just constantly beeps and boops and beeps and boops and tells you to pay attention to the driving speed and tells you not to turn so fast, and all these things it constantly tells you to do or not do. It's just awful. And they probably have it tuned because it's a rental car to like be more vocal and make more alerts, I would assume. Because if this is how Nissans always are, it's terrible. I would never recommend anybody ever even consider driving a Nissan if this is how their cars are typically. But you should be able to turn it off, but whatever. I'm not going to the options and toggling things because it's I'm almost done with the road trip already. So yeah, carefully consider if you actually want to drive in Japan or if you should just, take public transit, take trains. I do like the freedom of the open road. It's beautiful, get to see a lot, but also it can be maybe slightly stressful for some people and maybe slightly challenging. Although you are going to face a lot of challenges too. If you can't speak Japanese, can't read Japanese, and you're taking high-speed rail or using public transit or buses, that's also challenging. So no matter what, it's going to be a challenge. Depends on what kind of challenge you want. Onwards. Wow, look at that. You can see inside the machine.
Wow, that's cool. What is this, coffee?
Coffee machine. You can see it make it. Make sure it's clean or something. Right now I'm about to go return the car. I've had fun exploring the countryside around Tokyo, but I haven't been to Tokyo in over a decade. I haven't spent any time there, even though I've been to Japan many a time. So I'm excited to actually return the car and then go and explore Tokyo without the car, because you don't need it for the cities, because the public transit is just so good. Take a car out, random places in the countryside, drive, stop wherever you want. But when you're in the cities, return the car and just enjoy the beautiful train network, subway system, public transit in Japan. It's good. That's it. That's the video. If you liked it, great. If you didn't, well, fine. See ya.